Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So by popular demand we're going to do part 2 on the straw trailer that we're on with last week. So last week's video got over 500 comments and most of them were saying part 2, so yeah, here we are. As well get on and get it done anyway while we're on with it. So yeah, we're going to make a drawbar for it. A few bits to finish off on the axle and yeah, we're going to put a new drawbar on it. So this is a box section I'm going to use for the drawbar. Now, ideally, I would have liked it to have been a bit thicker, but I didn't want to order a full 7.5 metre length of box section and then only use half of it and not have a use for the other half. So the steel supplier had this in as a 3.9 metre length, which is the right size that I was wanting. It's just not as thick as I was wanting. So it's 150 by 250, and this is 6.3 millimetres thick. I would have liked it to have been 8mm really, but yeah, this will do. A bit of a compromise, but yeah, it saves buying a full length that I wouldn't have use for the other half. So yeah, this old drawbar is too short. It was catching on here. It was also catching on there on the wheel of the tractor. So the drawbar needs to be sort of a foot longer, and it'll clear that. But this one is, well, it's 2 bits of channel welded together, and then here there's a join, and then it goes to like RSJ, and then with a bit welded over the top, so that's not ideal. And like I said, the ring's worn out anyway, so that's why we're going to alter it. So what we're planning to do with this drawbar is cut this off completely, get rid of this old one completely, and then that new bit of box section I've got, I'll cut a bit off the end and I'll weld that in between the chassis like that, and the new bit of box will butt up to that and weld around there. We'll chop through these the same width as the new box section, so the new box section will sit in between there and I can weld this back onto the box. And then at the front we'll have to brace it up. I'm not sure how we're going to do the front yet. I'll work that out when we come to it. And then my dad's just been on putting some green paint on it to put a right good thick coat of green on. Hopefully stop the rust coming back through. He's left that bit there because we're not quite sure what we're going to do for bracing around the axle, being whether it needs anything or not. I had quite a few comments as well asking about whether there's any greases on the pivots. There is. We can't see, a bit dark, but there is a hole in the middle of them pivots where a grease nipple goes. But we just haven't put any in yet because we don't have any of the right size. So yeah, that's the plan. I'm going to start cutting up this bit of box section. So this bit of box section is the one that's going to go between the two chassis rails, but it's going to be sat into the chassis as well, with a little bit like protruding over the top, because the bottom of the drawbar is not level with the bottom of the chassis. So what I need to do with this is just notch a bit out, so I'm left with 135mm there, and that bit will be sat into the chassis. Right, so that's that bit cut and notched out. So that'll sit into the chassis, and then I'll have to blank the end of that off when it's on the chassis. But then, yeah, this bit will get welded on, cross over onto there. So that'll be the support at one end. So what I need to do now is taper this end down to a bit of a point, and then weld the ring on the bottom. So to taper this end down, I'll have to cut a section out and then just fold it down and then weld it back up again. So this is what I'm going to do to taper the end of the drawbar down. Now this is not my idea. I saw it on TikTok. Keith Rose Trailers, he put a video on TikTok on how they do it. So yeah, hope you don't mind me borrowing your idea. So yeah, I'll cut a section out like that, and then so that's what you'll be left with, and then that'll fold down like that, and then make the end of the drawbar tapered like that. So which bit is it? What I've done is I've made a template which is 5mm smaller than the actual bit I need to cut out, so I can plasma that out, that waste bit of 3mm over there, and use that as a template to plasma around. And then hopefully once I've got it plasmaed around, it all should go together like that. So yeah, we'll get this bit cut out. We're just going to move the trailer into the shed a bit more, put it down here because it's raining now and all the front of the trailer's got wet. So we'll use 2 forklifts somehow and move it in. Little Hyster has not got enough lift to lift the back end in one, so put the bits of wood under so it doesn't dig into the concrete. Well, right, so I've got that template cut out, so stick that again there like that, and then just run the plasma around that, and that should get me what I need cut out of there. But before I do that, because it's only 6mm box section, I'm not very keen on just welding. So that's the drawbar ring I'm use. I'm not very keen on just welding that to 6mm. I think is that, you know, it's not really thick enough. So I might press a bit to go around here, the length of that, or a bit longer maybe, out of 8mm probably, and then weld that round so it's like bringing the strength from this side onto the bottom, and then it's not just pulling on 6mm, because yeah, that just doesn't look like it'd be strong enough. The box section itself, I'm happy will be strong enough. It's just the bit where this is like going to be tearing on, it might end up tearing through the box section with it only being 6mm. So I've drawn that, and I'm going to cut that out and then weld that onto the bottom of the box section, and then the toe and eye will get welded onto that. I would have liked it if that could have come higher up there and sort of followed that curve round, but I'm limited on what I can press, so I think that's about as high as I can press without it coming back around and catching on the press tool. So yeah, I think we'll bring some 8mm plate in and cut that out, and then get that welded on. Right, so that's that cut out. I marked these press marks on with the plasma. I just turned it down to 20 amps and sped it up. It's quicker and easier than using the engraving head, I found. apart from there. You have to turn your torch height control off, and then the plate wasn't quite level, so it got a bit high and stopped, so I had to start again from there. But yeah, that should be a nice press mark, and then hopefully that'll fit around that box section. Okay, see, if that bit was any longer, I wouldn't have been able to press it because it would have caught on there. So that's about maximum I can do. Just pressing a little bit more. So I've given that a bit more of a press, and that fits on there nicely now. So yeah, I'm going to cut this bit out that I need to cut out here. Well, that worked pretty well, as I said. Nice gap there to weld round. It's a bit bigger there, is this gap. Yeah, it's quite big, is that gap actually. It'll fill in. Might give it a whack there. If I give it a whack there, it might close that gap up a bit. What I should have done before I did that was cut some holes in the bottom of here to weld through onto that bottom plate. If that'll bend back up again, not too bad, I might do that. So before I put the towing eye on there, I'm just going to weld across this bit here, because otherwise I won't be able to get to it very well. And then I was going to do it on the computer, but I forgot to cut that bit out there, so I just cut that by hand. Just thought it'd help not having a straight weld across there, even though the towing eye will be welded across the back. But yeah, this plate is welded on from the inside. You can see there and there. Then there'll be them holes to fill in down there. So yeah, well, yeah, I'll weld across there first and then sit the towing eye on. Right, so that is all ready to weld round now. I was going to narrow this off, but then I decided it doesn't really justify the time doing it. Be alright like that. I've measured our bale trailer and that's 150 wide where the ring's welded on. So yeah, that'll be fine. So yeah, well, that should weld down nice. Nice gap to weld down there, and I beat it out a little bit. Weld on there. I'll weld all this up and that'll sort of half preheat the ring. And then if it needs some more heat, I'll warm that up a bit more before I weld that on. So yeah, we'll get on and get that welded round. Right, so yeah, I'm definitely going to need to give that a bit of preheat. It's only at 55, well, 55-ish degrees at the moment. It's like 165 back there. So yeah, I'll give it a warm up, probably about 200, 250, and then weld it round. Right, so that is a ring weld gone. Done 3 runs of weld round there. Wrapped my corners, stopped just before the corner and then started before the corner again on around there. And then just stopped just shy of the end. So I think there's them bits there left to weld, and then that's all the welding done. I'm not going to weld across the top of there. Some trailer manufacturers do, I've seen, and some don't. And you're better if you don't. Yeah, that's that nearly done. Yeah, it is a bit overkill coming that far back. I could have maybe got away with only going to there. But, yeah, better overkill than underkill anyway. Right, so that is done now. I don't know whether to weld that end. Yeah, I'll probably weld that end on in here, and then it's just to sit in the chassis. But yeah, like I say, I wouldn't have normally bothered doing that, but because it's 5mm box, it just saves it tearing the 6mm box. Sorry, saves it tearing the ring off. So yeah, I'm happy with that. That looks nice and strong. Right, so that's that box section tacked on at that end. I think we're going to go around and try in the trailer now, make sure we're right. We should be, I'm pretty sure we are, but then we can also mark on the chassis where the rust needs grinding off, where it's going to be welded. So if we do that, then my dad can be grinding that down while I weld this up. So yeah, I'll take it around there and see what we're like. So I've got that sat in there. I just haven't taken quite enough off here, so it won't quite sit in properly, but we've marked around it where it needs grinding off. It's quite pitted, so we don't want to be grinding off more than we have to do really. So yeah, I'll lift that back out again now. So I've got welded around there, and I've also decided to put some of these in. So I'm just going to weld around these, and that should help spread the load towards the outside of the chassis. Well, make it stronger anyway. Right, so that is them both welded round as well. I think what I'll do now is I'll give it a bit of a sand off while it's in here, the DA sander. Right, so that's giving that a bit of a sand down. It's got rid of some of the rust. So yeah, that's ready to go in now, I think. So I'll take it back round there and then we'll lift it in. Right, so I was just on my way around to get the gas bottle for the welder. I was going to take it around with a forklift. I ran out of diesel, So I've just put some more diesel in it now, and I've been turning it over trying to start it, and now the start motor's cooked. So right in the middle of the yard. The start motor's been on its way out for a while. There's smoke puffing out of the start motor. It's not a good sign. Right, so to ensure that the drawbar is, or the trailer is going to be level when the drawbar is on the tractor, I've got this drawn. So like the drawbar height on a tractor, or on sort of our tractors anyway, seems to be about 500mm. So I've got that set at 500mm there. The wheel height is 1040, so I've got that set, and then the centre of the axle off the bottom of the chassis is 205mm. So like that, if the chassis is parallel, then the drawbar needs a little bit of an angle on it. I was originally thinking that the drawbar height was 550mm, but it's not. It's more like 500. So it's going to be looking downhill a little bit is the drawbar. So I think it's, yeah, if it's 135 at that end, at the front of the chassis it needs to be 160. So yeah, it's going to look down a little bit, and then that should make the chassis of the trailer nice and level with the floor when it's hitched onto the tractor. Right, so that is sat in there now. I think we're right at that. We've got the measurement that we wanted in there, 160, that I drew out on the computer. It measures, it's not easy to measure the middle, but I've measured from there to the chassis on both sides, and it seems like it's in the middle. So I'll put a few tacks at the back first, and then I'll double check it. And there's a bit of a gap there, but I can tack this across there, and I think this front bit will plate it in. So I'll put a plate across there, and then it goes across onto there, around that box section, and then sort of plate that full bit in at the front. And then same with here, I'll make a plate that sort of goes across there and then tapers down onto that chassis to brace that in, I think. But yeah, I'll put a few tacks around the back of it first. Right, so I've got a few tacks around it. Well, I've got one there, and then a few at the front. I'm happy with all the measurements. It's not easy getting a measurement to see if it's running true, but I've sort of taken as many measurements as I can from different places, and it seems to be match up, so that's sort of best I can do. Put some more tacks around it and I can start welding it in now, I think. So I'm going to be using a little jastic again. Right, so I've got welded round everywhere I need to get welded round so far. So I've done some vertical ups in there across the top. The vertical ups still aren't fantastic, but I never get enough practice at it to be good at it. That's like the key thing to welding is practice. They're holding pretty well anyway. I couldn't weld on the inside of there because it was onto rust, but I've welded on the inside of that, and same at the other side. And on there, and on there, and then I've also done underneath there as well. I managed to climb in there and weld it up. You can see it's burnt in pretty well, I think. Same one using a little welder. I've not bothered with that because they aren't particularly welded very well onto the chassis. You can see how that one's just broken off. So there's not a lot of strength in them. And then welded over there. And I did manage to fill that gap in. It's not that neat, but I might grind that off and run another one over the top. But then again, I'm not that concerned about them welds because, like I say, they aren't that strong anyway. And then I kind of managed to reach in there to do a vertical up in there. You can't see very well. There's that on. That I need to grind off yet, where it was melting through at the start. I'll grind that off and then fill that in better underneath. Vertical up there. And then that was not very good, but it was quite a big gap at the bottom. But yeah, I'm going to make a plate now to go on here. So I've drawn a bit of a template of what I need. So yeah, this plate will come out to here, get welded onto this solid chassis, then up there a bit of an angle, catch onto that, and then from there across to here, down round that, all the way around that, and then same to the other side. I was just taking the starter motor off my forklift and I think I've found out what's wrong with it. That brush there is nearly completely worn away compared to the other three. So I'm hoping that's it anyway. If I put a new brush in it. Oh, I might have a spare starter motor. Or my dad might have one that I can rob a brush out of. This starter motor is like designed to run with a bell housing that's full of oil, like this one, because it's got a torque converter. So this engine originally came out of my dad's Land Rover. It's a little Perkins engine. He put a 200 TDI engine in his Series 2A Land Rover, and this is the one that came out. Because the engine that was in this originally, it was worn out. It smoked really bad and it started really bad. So this engine was spare, so yeah, it was just a direct swap for this engine. But yeah, you have to use that starter motor that's especially for oil. Right, so I've just made a new brush. Yeah, I've just made that one. That was a good one that I took out to copy off. I robbed one of these big fat brushes out of here, and then yeah, cut it down to size and drilled a hole in it. So hopefully that should do. Yeah, I'll put it back together, see if that's cured it. Yeah, that's the one that's worn out. That's a new one I've made, and that's a good one that I took out to copy off. I've got the starter motor back on with a new brush in it. Battery's connected, so moment of truth. Still be airlocked, so it won't start up straight away, I wouldn't have thought, but is it going to turn over? It is. Sounds a bit different to before then. I'll crack some injector pipes off and bleed it through a bit first, before I try it again. So I've got my boost pack on, but I don't think it's the battery that's the problem. I think it is still the starter motor. It's just still not very healthy. Right, so I'm going to carry on with the starter motor. So this is the old one that came off. This is no good. I've put a new brush in, it's still no good. I've taken it in bits again, cleaned it all up. It still barely turns over. So I have another starter motor off this engine originally when it was in the Land Rover, but the bell housing is different on this engine and the flywheel's different. So the starter motor wouldn't fit straight on. So I've had to make an adapter. It's not bolted on yet, but I've had to make an adapter a bit like this, but not as thick, to adapt the starter motor size hole to the bell housing size hole like that. See, it's got a step in it. So I've made one of them, but then the end of the starter motor on the other one was too long, so I've had to chop a bit of the end off and then grind a bit off to get it to fit into the bell housing. And then the studs were too long, so I've had to chop a bit off the end of the studs. But anyway, I think we're about there to put it on now. But the solenoid's in a different place, so I'll have to reroute the wires back round. But hopefully that should cure it. But then this starter motor was not really designed to run with a bell housing that has oil in it, so whether it'll get oil into the starter motor, I don't know. But it might just get me by. We already had this starter motor, we know it's a good one, because I think my dad got it new to go when it was in the Land Rover. The old one has got no numbers or any way of identifying it, so I don't know what that one is. But yeah, I'll take this one back off again, put some more gasket sealant around there, stop it leaking oil. Hopefully we'll wire it up and that should be good. But I've wasted like a day fiddling about with this. Well, then I had to go out on another job, on another breakdown job, so. But yeah, lost a day today just fiddling about with this, and one of them days. I finally got that fresh starter motor on, so we'll see if it goes now. Yes, that's cured it, so we're back in action again. Right, so we can carry on with where we left off now. We've got the forklift up and running again. So I got all the drawbar welded in, and now I need to cut some plates out. So I'm going to cut this plate out to go around the drawbar. We'll go through there, and then that'll be welded up onto the, across onto the chassis. So that's one plate I need to cut out. And I also want to cut some plates out like this to go over the end of the box section that goes across over the chassis. So I'll cut that out like that, ignore them little bits, don't need them on. I couldn't work out how to get rid of them. But yeah, I'll press them and then they'll go into the chassis like that, and strengthen the chassis up, and then over the edge of that box section. So yeah, I'll get them cut out now. Right, so that's them in where they're going to go. Might have to chamfer the back out of there because it's like butting up again that weld that's in there. But yeah, you get the idea. It's maybe a bit overkill for strength wise, but it just looks a lot better. It looks better than just having a straight plate down with a gap in there. So just fold them in, it just sort of neatens it off, finishes it off properly. Might do a similar thing as what I've done there with this here. Notch it around that box section and then sort of taper it back off into the middle of the channel. Just to strengthen that up and make it look better. I could just weld a plate straight down, but then it leaves like a cavity down the back, which I don't like. And then that other 10mm plate is going to get welded onto here, up there, and across and round that. And that should finish that front off nicely. Just cut another plate out, same as what I did for them plates there. But because of this bit here on the axle, it won't fit in, so I'll have to chop that in half and then put one in from one side, one in from the other. And then that should strengthen it up a lot. Right, so that's that plate in at the front. We're just going to put a jack or something in here to jack that back. It got bent when we took the drawbar out. But yeah, everything else is ready. I'm just in the process of clamping that in and tacking it in. My dad's been round and ground everywhere up where it needs welding to, so that'll go in there like that. Same on the side. So yeah, I think I can get on and weld it up now. Jurassic seems to be managing alright, so I think I'll just weld everything up with that. For the vertical welds, I'd only have the big welder set at the same settings as what I have that set at now. So right, so I'm getting these welded up. So I got welded around there. You could probably get away with welding down there, but it's a good opportunity for me to practice welding vertical up. So still not the neatest. Looks better when it's been painted over. But yeah, that looks alright in the back of there. I've turned the wire speed down a bit. I was on 8 meters a minute. I've turned it down to 5 meters a minute, and it makes it a lot easier to control the arc. Then same with this one. It's not the neatest, but it should be plenty strong enough. Yeah, I think the upside down welds are alright. They're the only ones you'll see. Well, you'll see them, and you'll see them more because they'll be all the way up. So the welds that you never see are the best ones. Yeah, and then welded vertical up in there and there. And then I've just filled, there was a bit of a gap, so I've gone up there and filled that in. And then I'll probably do 2 runs over the top of that. And same with this side. I think I'm shaping myself a little bit better now. Not really seeing there very well. I had a few stops and starts on that one, but I was doing a different technique there. I was going sort of up into the middle and then back down, and then up into the middle and then back down. I think that's a bit better. I don't think I'm going to go over that. That's a big enough weld as it is. Try and do the same on this side. I've also got a shoe to go on it as well. So I made this a while ago for another job and never used it. So this can go on here. So I'm going to weld that on there and these little braces over the top. And the pin will go through there, through the shoe. Should be nice and strong. Just have to square that up and then weld that on. So that's all welded up now, and then my dad's been following behind, brush painting the bits that I've welded on. The chassis is quite badly pitted, so there's no point taking too much time painting them bits, so yeah, just thick coat of brush paint. And then we're going to flip it upside down, and then we'll paint the new bits of steel, we'll spray them. But yeah, I think we're about ready to put wheels on and tip it back over again. That weld's not quite as neat. Oh, that one's not great either, but it's alright. It's a lot stronger than what it would be if you just welded straight down. Very happy with how that little Jasic has performed. It never reached its duty cycle. It seemed plenty powerful enough. You can get up to 200 amps with 0.8 wire. I think I turned the voltage up, and then my dad looked at the screen while I was welding. It was reading 200 amps. I think it has melted the torch a little bit when you're running at 200 amps. But yeah, no, it performed very well. Easy to set up, easy to use. And I'm not just saying that because I've been given it because it was a freebie. I do have 2 of my own Jasics as well. Got a little, well, 200 amp TIG and then a 200 amp MIG. But yeah, I'd definitely recommend that if anyone was interested in a little MIG welder. Got 2 wheels on, we're just going to drag it out now so we can put the other 2 wheels on and then flip it back over. We haven't got any compressed air around here, so we can't spray that. It'd be better spraying it upside down, but still, we haven't got a compressor around here. You're just going to put the cone of the JCB into the drawbar ring, lift it up. There's some blocks of wood under the back again. Hopefully it will drag out. I don't think that's going to damage the concrete. I think it's just scrape along the top. Hopefully. Yeah, it's alright. Right, so we've got it halfway over. We're just going to put an old tyre under that front drawbar. So then we're going to push it over, but we don't want the drawbar to smash into the concrete. So we're going to put that old tyre under it. It's fairly heavy. We were just thinking if the JCB's got his arm out full and it goes over balance, it might lift the back wheels of the JCB off the ground. Probably wouldn't, but you never know when you're over balancing stuff. not really the designed purpose of the cone on the top of the headstock, but at least it's an empty trailer, not a full trailer. Let's go and drag that tyre out of the way. So that height that it's at now is what height it'll be at on the tractor pick up hitch. And the trailer is like dead level near enough. So that's spot on, is that? So doing that bit longer has actually worked out well for where the pivot goes on for the shoe. So yeah, it's a good job I didn't make it any shorter. So yeah, that's where we're up to now. It doesn't quite look as homemade as it did before. Still wants tidying up a bit. That bit of box wants cutting off, and we'll give it a paint. Yeah, drawbar wants painting still. Brakes need piping up. Hydraulic brakes need piping up. So there's that bit still to straighten out. My dad's got that box put back in there for putting your ratchet straps and stuff in. I think he's got some lights wired onto it as well. Yeah, they're the old lights. Yeah, he's got some little LED lights put onto it. So there's a few bits to sort out at the back. That bit's broken off nearly. Maybe wanted extending as well. I don't know whether it'd be quite long enough. But yeah, no, I think that looks alright. Looks, yeah, definitely doesn't look as homemade as it was before. So yeah, that's where we're up to now. So once I get them other little jobs done, and when we're using it in harvest, I'll get some more video and show you it in action. We've got our own baler as well now, so we can do our own baling and lead our own straw. Thanks to everyone that's bought a hoodie so far. There's still plenty available, both the zip-up ones and the pullover like this type. I also have some polo shirts available as well now with the logo on the front and then it printed on the back. Same as a hoodie, but a polo shirt. Now the weather's getting a bit warmer. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this little two-part series of rebuilding the trailer. Like I said, I'll show you it when we've finally got it finished and we're using it. But yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.